Welcome to this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on beliefs in society, focusing on feminism and religion. Feminist views of religion discuss the role of religion in maintaining patriarchal control over women through their organisation and their teachings. However, not all feminists view spirituality and beliefs in this way. Many world religions reinforce the subordinate position of women both in their organisation and in wider society through religious doctrines. For example, the control of women's behaviour and appearance, their expected roles in society and the duties that are expected of them. Some feminists suggest that women's subordinate position is legitimised by offering women compensation for their sacrifices in the afterlife, much in the same way that the poor in society are compensated for their faith, according to Marxists. This is one explanation for the higher levels of religious participation by women than men. Now in this video we're going to look at the views of 5 prominent feminists in the field of religion and their differing views on religion and spirituality. Simone De Beauvoir, Mary Daly, Linda Woodhead, Nawal Saawdawi and Holm. Simone De Beauvoir argued that religion not only oppressed women but attempted to legitimise this oppression and that of patriarchal society in general by acting as a form of compensation, not only through giving them a place to belong and a purpose, but also through promising rewards in the afterlife. De Beauvoir argued that the organisation and doctrines of many religions laid down the foundations of women's oppression, yet they also required women to socialise the next generation into religion through their role as primary caregiver. The expressive role expected of women enabled religious ideologies to be passed on to children, and thus women reproduced the next generation of worshippers. In return, women were convinced by their religions that they would be rewarded for spreading these doctrines, and that doing so would earn their God's favour. Mary Daly offered an alternative view of religion and spirituality. While she agreed that organised religion was based upon patriarchal structures and ideals, Daly argued that spirituality could offer an alternative for women to harness their own potential. While in traditional religious organisations women were controlled and given passive functions to perform such as prayer, religion could offer more practical support, not only for women but for building a better society. She argued for the existence of goddess religions that empowered women to make changes and unite women in forms of spirituality that did not exist in traditional patriarchal religions. Now this idea was taken further by Linda Woodhead. Similar to Daly, Woodhead argued for a spirituality that celebrated femininity, what she referred to as the divine feminine in society. As part of her ethnographic study into New Age movements in Kendal, Woodhead suggested that spirituality can empower women and generate greater self-esteem and confidence. Woodhead argued that by following spiritual beliefs that countered mainstream patriarchal religions, women could find strength and unity with others and greater understanding of themselves. Woodhead's views can be evidenced by comparing this to the rise in more egalitarian New Age movements and how this is impacted on the greater involvement of women in spirituality than males. Examining religion in a more global context, Nawal Saawdawi discussed issues of patriarchy in the Middle East, and particularly Arab and Islamic nations. Many Western commentators have been critical of Islam for its treatment of women, but al-Saawdawi suggested it was not Islam that looked to control women, but rather the patriarchal organisation of society. She argued that religion is often used to justify control over women by men, particularly women's bodies and activities. And this is often the result of interpreting the content of religious texts, which al-Saawdawi sees as patriarchal application of religion, rather than religion itself being organised for the benefit of men. Finally, Holm examined the structures of religious organisation and found that many world religions exclude women from positions of authority within their organisations, yet they preach equality amongst all men. However, Holm argues that this is not the case in some Eastern religions, which are more egalitarian, and highlights movements towards equality in Western religions such as Christianity, with the inclusion of female ministers in the later part of the 20th and early 21st century. Furthermore, social movements in traditional religious states have seen women's rights improve. For example, the legalisation of abortion in Ireland, a predominantly Catholic country. In evaluating feminist views of religion, it's important to examine the structures of major world religions as evidence of feminist views of inequality. Many are still based upon males in dominant positions within the hierarchy of that religion, despite some movement in recent times. Conversely, it can be argued that women's greater involvement in new forms of spirituality is a result of rejecting these patriarchal institutions. Traditionally, women are more inclined to participate in religious practices, and despite increased secularization in society, women have maintained this by moving to newer forms of spirituality. Finally, in evaluating feminist views, there is a debate over the extent to which religion needs to be reformed or replaced. Liberal feminists look to reform existing structures, whilst radicals argue for new forms of belief that celebrate femininity and empower women in society. That concludes this Choose to Use Sociology topic video on beliefs in society, looking at the feminist view of religion. Thanks for watching.